Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today.
Anytime.
As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to meet with you because I'm interested in a manager role sometime down the line, not sure when, and wanted your input on what the day in and day out tasks look like.
Okay.
What are some things you do in your role? What are some things that you feel like I could improve on? Just things of that sort.
Okay.
So the questions that I'm going to ask again are just around your current role, your current position, what you do, and some of your direct reports.
Okay.
So let's start with number one.
All right.
Can you describe 3 components of your philosophy or management that demonstrate what you value and add as an individual to an organization, culture, and the work environment? I know that's kind of long, so if I need to break it up, let me know.
So 3 things that I feel are important in this role and that I hopefully add. As a manager of people or an organization, I think you have to give direction. You have to hopefully have a vision and a direction of where you want the place to go. Guidance, how are you going to get there, and try to help guide them so that we can all get there together. And then leadership, I would say it's similar guidance, but just setting the example, leading by example. I think those are there's a lot within those, but I think those are some basic principles that go a long way, regardless of whether it's insurance or any type of industry. If you're leading people, I think those elements are important.
Thank you. If you had to pinpoint the most significant contribution needed from a manager in the workplace, what would you identify as the key contribution?
I think going back to kind of the direction and the vision, I think as the manager or leader, your objective is to set clear objectives for your supervisors and for your frontline representatives so that they know what they're trying to achieve. You have to kind of point the ship in the right direction, so to speak, and your frontline reps are the ones there that are maybe doing the rowing of the ship, but you have to make sure the ship's pointing in the right direction.
And if you come across a direct report who's having difficulties addressing or understanding those expectations, can you give me some pointers as to what I could do if I'm ever in a situation where someone that I'm working with or someone that I'm attempting to lead just isn't understanding what those expectations are? Or
obviously you need to pull them aside and sit down and have a one-on-one. Find out what it is what their impression is of what the objectives are, or what they feel like they should be accomplishing, and then share what you feel the goals or the expectations are. See where you're missing, and then hopefully you can come to an agreement of how to close that gap. And you always want to approach it first from it's a skill issue, for lack of a better term. Okay. You don't ever want to assume bad intent. You don't want to assume that they're just doing it because they don't want to do it.
I love that.
Yeah, you want to try to look at it first. Maybe they just don't know. And then if you cross that off the list, then you can start addressing the whole behavioral piece in the will, which gets a little trickier, but sometimes it's easy for us as leaders, especially if we do it for a while, to sometimes jump to that they just don't want to do it. They got bad attitude or whatever it is, but maybe they really just don't know how. So
I agree with you on that, because although I'm not a manager, I'm a supervisor, I sometimes tend to just make assumptions instead of taking the time, just taking a step back and having that conversation with the person, seeing what it is that they don't fully understand. Yeah. So thank you, like that. What do you find to be the most challenging as a manager?
When you lead a group of people, it's getting them all to be on that same page and be heading in the same direction together, following the proper procedures. When you have a group of individuals, there's always going to be some that want to do it this way and some that want to do this way and some this way. And it's not that sometimes some of that can be a little bit okay, because it brings creativity into the environment and stuff, and you can still maybe get some objectives done, but ideally you need to pretty much all be at least pointing towards the right direction and trying to accomplish the same things. Okay. So getting a group of people because when you get in this role, even you as a supervisor, though, it's always a challenge when you're evaluated on how other people perform.
Correct.
You're like, I can just go in there and do that job. I know I can do that. But you become evaluated on how you can get a group of people and a bigger group of people as you move up to perform. And that can be frustrating sometimes because you feel like the objectives are clear and how to do it is pretty clear. Why aren't you doing it?
Exactly.
So anyway, that's always
sort
a
of
challenge.
That thinking of you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink kind of thing. I gotcha. Can you walk me through a typical day at work? What consumes most of your time?
Well, just to, I guess if I was to speak from currently right now, recruiting takes up a ton of my time.
Very true.
and that's not a bad thing. It would be nice to get to that point where we could get staff and stay staff. It seems like every time we get there, we lose some, and so we're back recruiting again. Administrative stuff takes up time, and
I can vouch to that.
And that's always something we want to try to, especially for supervisors, to get as much of that off the plate as possible, because I would like to see most of your time going to coaching and developing your team. And even for you as a manager, you want to be able to sit and work with your supervisors. So that administrative stuff, whatever we can always try to do, is always a good time management test to kind of go back through some of that stuff and say, what can we maybe take off of our plate? And so we can put more on the coaching and development side of it. Well, you can, sometimes those you do with the best of intents, and then reality sometimes makes you go a different direction, so it gets challenging. But it's easy to get caught up sometimes too in, some of the administrative stuff, and maybe you can maybe not necessarily not do it, but maybe find to get it done quicker or a different way so it doesn't take as much of your time, and then that would give you some free time to go do the other stuff. I'd like to be able to, again, spend time just working with my supervisors and doing some of that as opposed to, some of the recruiting administrative stuff. But you have to kind of be able to go wherever the need is.
Very true. Very true. So scheduling our big rocks.
Yep. You got it.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
In the same role, what do you feel takes the least of your time? What would be the easiest tasks that you feel you can complete? Or let me rephrase that. So the least time consuming, but most impactful.
Yeah, that's, I think, where you want to be able to take more time out of those administrative and recruiting efforts and put them into just running contests and having fun and building up a team morale. Because the coaching development can sometimes even just be fun stuff.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we should be spending more time doing. And unfortunately, these other things always tend to take away from that time. And that's always a challenge if you can figure out how to do more coaching development stuff and less of the other stuff. That I think will get you the biggest rewards as far as performance and stuff.
Yeah. Engagement.
We've all been out there, we've all sat in the seat and have done it, and it can be a tough job. It can be a grind after a while. So whatever we can do to try to make it a little more rewarding for them or fun, whatever the case is.
Gotcha. Thank you. If you could start all over again, I love this question, by the way. Would you change your career path in any way?
I think we can all look back and be like, sure, there's some things I would have done differently, knowing now what I would have known then. I think the biggest thing for me would have just been starting earlier. I spent my 20s when I first got out of high school thinking I was going to maybe go the restaurant route and become a restaurant manager and eventually owner and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I spent 10 years in that industry, so I didn't get started in insurance until I was 30. So I enjoy what I do. I really like insurance. But if I started earlier, could potentially, hopefully, be a little further even down my career path now. So that's the biggest thing, probably just trying to start a little earlier.
Okay. But your career path where you're at right now, you feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
You feel like this is your calling, this is where you feel most comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. What educational preparation would you recommend for someone who wants to advance in this field?
Good question.
It doesn't have to necessarily be go out and get your bachelor's. Right. It could be a training course or some type of conference or.
Any additional learning courses, instruction you can get on developing people, because that's the crux of your job. And it's a challenge. And again, everybody ticks to a different clock. Everybody is different. So figuring out what motivates different personalities. So I don't think there's ever enough. That's ongoing. We just did the crucial conversations last year and stuff. I think those kind of things are just, you can never take enough of those, because things change. As we get more millennials in the workforce, things that motivate them are different than what used to motivate Generation Xers and things like that. So just continually developing the ability to develop people and coach and stuff, I would say would be the biggest thing. It's still important, I think, which you have a great now technical skill set as far as working skill systems, Windows, all that stuff. You're very good at all that, and that's important. I think you have to have that. Understanding reporting, like in Excel and stuff, is important.
Okay.
Being able to at least analyze it and then know what the results are telling you, so that you know how to build a plan off that. You don't necessarily have to know how to build the report, but just know how to interpret it and be able to look at it and say, here's where we should put some focus, or here's where we're doing well, just things like that. Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't, John, he's amazing. He can actually build the reports.
I know.
And I'm like, but you don't necessarily have to have that skill set. You just have to be able to understand it and what the numbers are telling you and stuff. Yeah. So.
Alrighty. So something that I've been doing, and I don't know if it would be beneficial, but is reading books, right? So you mentioned millennials. Everyone learns differently.
Right.
There's tons of books out there about emotional intelligence and why soft skills are so important and things like that. So do you think that would be beneficial also to do maybe some side reading besides just the current events? Would we the classes that we take here at work?
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. I mean, I think all that's, continue CE, basically, continuing education. So that's stuff you can just always keep adding to your skill set. Yeah.
Alrighty. So I know you touched a little bit of based on my next question, right? So which of my skills are strong compared to others in the field? You mentioned that I have the technical side of things. What feedback would you give me? Anything that would help me learn something new or sharpen my skill set? Just based on, I know I don't report directly to you, but based on your observations, sometimes someone seeing things from the outside sees more than someone that's been dealing with the person for the past 5 years.
And I don't have a lot, because from what I see, you do a really good job. I mean, I think it would probably just tie back to we all can always keep getting better at coaching and developing people. I mean, I think that's always a snare we can all work on, making sure we're clear with expectations, which I think we are, but I just think those are just the basics of set clear expectations. You show them how to do what you're expecting, and then you kind of hold them accountable to those expectations. And that's really the gist of sometimes managing a call center.
And just for the record, since we're being recorded, you do not have to answer question number 9.
Okay.
Which would be, what would be a reasonable salary range to expect if I entered this field? If you don't feel comfortable, because I know we're working the same department. And
it really does vary a lot. I can tell you that, because coming from where I came from, I was at Esurance, and theirs pay was probably a little less than what it is here for a similar role. So it can vary a lot, and it kind of depends whether you're in sales or service. If you're in sales, some of your good chunk you may be on a bonus type structure. So if your team performs really well, you could have an opportunity to make even more there. But I mean, I would say like 65, 70,000 and up, depending on if it is like a sales environment where there maybe is bonus potential and that kind of thing. So.
Thank you. And then what is the long-term potential of being a manager? Like, what is that? What do you feel? I know you mentioned earlier, if you would have started a little bit younger, you feel like you would have been further advanced into your career. So where would you see yourself, or what do you see the opportunities opening up after you're in that manager role?
Yeah, I think part of it is you wanna get to that point where you're doing more like a director role where you're even more involved with the strategic planning of the whole organization.
Okay.
Get to a director role or maybe even, an assistant vice president or something where you really are more involved. You probably only have a couple of direct reports who are higher levels, like a branch manager or something like that. So you're just giving some overall instruction to them and they go and kind of handle the details, but you're involved with that vision and that this is where the company needs to go. And you're always looking at that 3 to 5 year plan, more so than the day to day.
Gotcha.
So like,
I
like
didn't
a
even think
director
about
role
that.
or something. Yeah.
More concentration on the bigger picture, long term.
In the long term, because it's interesting, doing the retention team that I did at Esurance, I got a chance to work with some of the higher executives with Esurance, and they were always talking about like that 3 to 5 year plan. And it's funny, like when you first started hearing about the 3 year plan, you're like, oh, they're talking about 2015. This would be back in like 2012. Like, and then next thing you know, it's 2015. And you're like, holy cow. And then like you're doing their 3 or 5 year plan. It just goes so quick.
It
You
does.
really have to stay on top of it and keep setting those goals out there.
Alrighty, Greg. Well, those were all of my questions.
All right.
Any advice you can give me?
No, I think you're doing a fantastic job. You're a tremendous part of the team, and obviously you're on the right track. Keep up with your studies. And, you got a bright future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. Well, thank you for taking the time
Anytime.
to meet with me. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're awesome.